Greetings, Manchester City fan. In this video, you'll get the latest updates about our beloved club. Before we dive in, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to keep up with all the City news. Let's explore the hot topics stirring the sky blue world. According to recent reports, Pep Guardiola, always loyal to his philosophy of prioritizing players' desire and motivation, may be willing to let James McAtee go if he decides to accept Bayer Leverkusen's offer. The German club has expressed interest in signing the 22-year-old midfielder on a loan deal with a purchase option. Although McAtee has been a regular feature in City's first team in recent weeks, his situation remains uncertain. He was left on the bench during the victory against Chelsea, raising questions about his role in Guardiola's current system. With the recent arrival of Omar Marmoush, formerly of Eintracht Frankfurt, who has secured the starting spot on the left side of the attack, McAtee has lost ground. Even so, City would like to keep the talented midfielder who still has 18 months left on his contract. However, as we've seen in the past, Guardiola does not hesitate to let players move on if they wish to pursue opportunities elsewhere. A clear example of this was Kyle Walker's transfer to AC Milan. McAtee, who has made 14 appearances across all competitions this season, starting only 4 times, has still managed to showcase his value with 5 goals, including a stunning hat-trick against Salford and another goal in a dominant win over Ipswich. Moreover, the young Englishman gained valuable experience during his loan spell at Sheffield United, where he played 75 matches, scoring 14 goals and providing 8 assists. The competition for McAtee's signature isn't limited to Bayer Leverkusen. Clubs such as Celtic, West Ham, Fulham, and Crystal Palace are also keeping an eye on the emerging talent, according to Football Insider. McAtee's future seems uncertain, and this saga promises to be an exciting one. Now I ask you, City fan, what do you think? Should the club let McAtee leave to gain more playing time elsewhere, or hold on to him as part of Manchester City's future? Share your thoughts in the comments. Meanwhile, other rumors are gaining traction. One of the main ones involves Sandro Tonali, Newcastle United's midfielder, who is reportedly on the radar of both Manchester City and the mighty Real Madrid. Italian journalist Gianluca Di Marzio has suggested that both clubs might attempt to sign the Italian star in the summer of 2025. Despite the speculation, Tonali appears content at Newcastle and committed to the Premier League. But of course, things can change quickly. As always, Real Madrid continues its relentless pursuit of squad evolution. The team already boasts a formidable midfield led by Jude Bellingham and Eduardo Camavinga, but uncertainty surrounding Aurelien Tchouameni's future has prompted the club to consider other options to strengthen the position. In this context, Tonali emerges as a promising alternative. Di Marzio believes the midfielder could leave Newcastle at the end of the current season, but the English club shows no intention of parting with their record signing. Tonali was acquired in 2023 for a record $55 million, making him the most expensive Italian player in history. Even so, sources indicate that the Magpies are unwilling to let him go, whether in January or next summer. Tonali's dedication to Newcastle was evident even after serving a lengthy suspension. He remains focused on contributing to the team's success as they fight for a top 4 spot in the Premier League. For Newcastle, retaining Tonali is crucial to their growth ambitions, both domestically and in Europe. Now, my fellow Citizens fan, think with me. Would Tonali fit into Manchester City's midfield? And more importantly, would it be worth competing with Real Madrid to bring the Italian to the Etihad? Leave your opinions in the comments. I'm eager to hear what you think. Finally, let's talk about another intriguing situation involving Manchester City. The club is pushing forward with the signing of 18-year-old Juma, despite a controversial legal dispute with Real Valladolid. According to Stefan Borsan, a former financial advisor to City, the chances of legal complications are minimal. Valladolid accuses City of encouraging Juma to break his contract to facilitate the transfer. But Borsan argues that the English club is acting lawfully, intending to trigger the player's release clause. In Spain, it is common for contracts to include release clauses, allowing players to free themselves by paying a stipulated amount. Juma is reportedly willing to make this payment, which would render the transfer completely legal. While Juma is not an essential signing at the moment, he is seen as an investment in the club's future. Returning to the controversy surrounding Juma, there is more at stake here than just the transfer of a promising young player. This situation highlights how Manchester City operates in the market, always ahead of the curve, paying attention to detail, and investing not only in the present but also in the future. It's undeniable that Juma might not be an essential name for the team right now, but the club sees him as a player who can develop and contribute in the long term. This approach is nothing new at the Etihad. Just think of players like Phil Foden, who, although a star today, began as a prospect and had the patience to grow in the right environment. However, the Juma case also raises questions about the club's reputation in international dealings. While Manchester City is backed by solid legal arguments, conflicts like this can impact future relationships with other clubs. It's a fine line between being assertive and crossing ethical boundaries. So, City fan, I ask you, is the club right to persist with this transfer, or would it be wiser to maintain a diplomatic relationship with Valladolid? This is the kind of decision that can shape how the club is perceived behind the scenes of European football. While we discuss the future of young talents, it's impossible to ignore the situation of John Stones, an iconic figure at Manchester City. Since his arrival in 2016, Stones has established himself as one of the pillars of the defense, helping build the solid foundation that has led to so many historic achievements for the club. However, time and injuries take their toll. At 30 years old, the defender is no longer at his physical peak, and Manchester City faces a dilemma: renew Stones' contract or seek a younger, more promising alternative? Guardiola, who has always been loyal to players who have given their all for the club, might opt to extend Stones' contract. However, Manchester City is not just a club that lives in the past, it's an institution that looks to the future. The arrivals of young players like Edouard Kusanov and V. Rees show that the club is already planning the renewal of its defense. And even though Stones still has the quality to contribute, competition for starting spots will be fierce. This is not an easy decision. Stones is one of the last remaining players from an era that transformed Manchester City into a global powerhouse. His departure would mark the end of a cycle and perhaps a new beginning for the team's defensive line. But at the same time, keeping a player with a recent history of injuries could be a financial risk, especially for a club that meticulously plans every move. So, what do you think, City fan? Should Guardiola give Stones another chance and keep him as a leader on and off the pitch? Or would it be better to invest in young talent and make room for a new generation? Share your thoughts in the comments. And speaking of tough decisions, let's return to the midfield, where Sandro Tonali's name continues to resonate strongly. Manchester City's interest in the Italian player is no coincidence. Tonali is versatile, dynamic, and possesses the ability to control the game's tempo, qualities that would make him a valuable asset in Guardiola's system. But bringing Tonali would be more than just reinforcing the squad. It would be a strategic move to prevent a direct rival, such as Real Madrid, from strengthening even further. Tonali, for his part, seems content at Newcastle, but football is unpredictable. The sporting project Manchester City offers, combined with the chance to compete for Europe's biggest trophies, could be irresistible to any player. And let's not forget that Newcastle, despite their recent growth, are still far from achieving the stability and prestige City already enjoys. However, there's an important aspect to consider: cost. Tonali is the most expensive Italian player in history, and his signing would require a significant investment. Is this ideal for City, which already boasts a midfield packed with talents like Rodri, Bernardo Silva, and Phil Foden? Or should the club prioritize other positions? Once again, I leave the question to you. City fans, is Tonali the missing piece in City's midfield, or would he be an unnecessary luxury? Now, to conclude this second part, let's connect all these topics into a broader narrative. The decisions Manchester City needs to make regarding McAtee, Stones, Tonali, and Juma go far beyond individual negotiations. They represent the club's philosophy on various fronts: developing young talents, honoring experienced players, and remaining competitive on the European stage. Guardiola and the board face the constant challenge of balancing the past, present, and future. Players like Stones represent the foundation that made Manchester City one of the greatest clubs in the world. McAtee and Juma symbolize the potential for a bright future, while names like Tonali offer the opportunity to bolster the squad with immediate quality. Every decision, no matter how small it seems, has a profound impact on the direction the club will take in the coming years. As we analyze the potential moves involving McAtee, Stones, Juma, and Tonali, we realize that each one reflects different moments and approaches in the club's strategy regarding the market. On one hand, we have McAtee, a promising young talent who has grown within City's system and embodies the club's youth policy, something Guardiola has deeply valued since his arrival. On the other, Tonali, a potential marquee signing, signals Manchester City's ongoing ambition to target the world's best players in order to stay on top. McAtee is an example of how Manchester City builds its success not only through big signings, but also with players developed internally. Despite his potential, he finds himself in a tough position. With a midfield packed with stars, his chances of regular playing time are limited. Guardiola has shown in the past that he is not against letting players leave if they feel they lack the space to grow. Cases like Brahim Diaz, who moved to Real Madrid, and Jadon Sancho, who joined Borussia Dortmund, are proof of this. Now, with Bayer Leverkusen showing interest and McAtee possibly seeking more game time, the question arises, should Manchester City let him go? The decision may depend on the player himself and his willingness to fight for a place in the team. At the same time, the club must consider renewing his contract. If McAtee leaves with only 18 months left on his deal, City risks losing a valuable talent for a reduced price. Another crucial aspect is the emotional impact of such decisions. When the club allows young talents to leave, it sends a message to other academy players. Is Manchester City willing to invest in internal growth, or will it continue to prioritize established players from the international market? This question resonates beyond McAtee. It speaks to the club's overall identity. Meanwhile, John Stones' situation is not just about retaining or releasing a veteran. It's about continuity, leadership, and the transition to the next generation. Stones is not just a high-quality defender. He is one of the most experienced leaders in the squad. Even off the pitch, his presence provides stability for younger defenders like Ruben Dias and Nathan Ake. But to what extent can City afford to keep a player who, due to injuries, may not be as reliable as before? Guardiola has already demonstrated a pragmatic approach to aging players. The departures of Fernandinho and Vincent Kompany were handled in a way that minimized disruption to the team, while new arrivals ensured the quality was maintained. Stones may be on a similar path. Still, he has the chance to prove he can remain relevant for City, especially if he can overcome his physical issues in the coming months. If Stones leaves, who will take over his role as a leader? Ruben Dias, who has already worn the captain's armband on occasion, seems the natural candidate. However, young players like Kusanov and Rees will need to mature quickly to fill that gap. This serves as another reminder that Manchester City is not just building a squad to win now, but constructing a team that can dominate for years to come. And then we have Tonali. The Italian is not just a good option for midfield. He's a player who could redefine how City operates in that area. Tonali is known for his game intelligence, tempo control, and aggressiveness in defense, qualities that fit perfectly into Guardiola's system. He also offers versatility, capable of playing as a more defensive holding midfielder or as a deep-lying playmaker. But with players like Rodri, Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, and even Matheus Nunes already in the squad, does Tonali really fit? Or would his arrival mean someone else would have to leave? Rumors suggest Bernardo Silva might seek new challenges in the future, which could open up a spot for Tonali. However, this also depends on the player himself and his commitment to Newcastle. So far, Tonali has made it clear that he's happy in the Premier League, but an offer from Manchester City might be too tempting to refuse. Finally, the Juma saga reflects City's strategy of always pursuing emerging talents, even if it involves controversy. Despite the potential legal case with Valladolid, Manchester City is clearly confident it can resolve the matter favorably. Juma is an 18-year-old with raw potential, and the club believes it can develop him into a star for the future. This approach is risky, but is also one of the reasons for Manchester City's sustained success. The club does not expect players like Juma to make an immediate impact. Instead, they invest in development, using loans and gradual game time to prepare them for the first team. This is the same model that produced Foden, Rico Lewis, and to a lesser extent McAtee. However, the Juma case also raises the question of how far City is willing to go to secure talent. The club has already faced UEFA investigations over financial and contractual matters, and this transfer could attract more unwanted attention. Is it worth taking this risk for a youngster who is far from a guaranteed success? Ultimately, each of these decisions, McAtee's future, Stones' situation, Tonali's potential arrival, and the Juma case, is part of a bigger picture. They show how Manchester City is not just a club focused on winning today, but a well-structured machine always planning for the future. Guardiola and his team face the constant challenge of balancing squad renewal with maintaining success. So, City fan, I ask you, which of these stories do you think will have the biggest impact on Manchester City's future? Could McAtee become a star elsewhere? Does Stones still have a vital role to play? Is Tonali the reinforcement needed in midfield? And Juma, could he be the next Foden? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your opinion. And with that, we wrap up our deep dive into the latest news and strategic decisions at Manchester City. If you enjoyed this content and want to stay updated on everything happening with the citizens, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support is crucial to help us continue bringing you the best analyses and updates about our club. A big thank you, City fans, and we'll see you in the next video.